In my opinion, the next level of transformation is, you know, think of Google as simple as that, right? So Google, you can just go to Google. It's back at the back end of Google is your entire internet, right? So why can't we do the same thing at an enterprise level, right? So you go to an enterprise, you are, let's say, a Procter and Gamble, right? So if I am the, the C-suite in Procter and Gamble sitting there, I should be able to search with a small Google search type of thing and say, what is my, marketing spend today? Where are the challenges in the world within Procter and Gamble facilities? Where are the rejects happening on the parts that I'm shipping to, on the products that I'm shipping to different locations? So I should be able to just do that search and then figure out or get all the answers, right? So it should be that simple. I think that's where, the next level of digital transformation is going to take place.
Hi, Sukumar. Thanks a lot for joining in and lovely to have a conversation with you.
Thank you very much, Swami. Thank you. It's indeed an honor and a pleasure to be here with you.
Thanks, Sukumar. Sukumar, let me first get into what specifically, the world of marketing, as you see it when you started, to where it is today. How is it transformed? And what are the key trends that you are seeing in terms of the changes that are happening in the environment?
Yeah, I mean, it's marketing is, I tell people marketing is one field in the enterprise where, they embrace the technology faster than any other fields in the enterprises, right? So, because this is the one that's actually driving the top line for the companies. So they have to do, they will invest in that area, and they will try to innovate in that area, and they will try to embrace as much as possible. So that's why uh, if you see marketing, way back, basically marketing and sales were kind of, going hand in hand together, right? So marketing is, their primary job is to generate leads, right? So hey, we are selling this goods and services as a company. So now how is this going to benefit, who I'm selling this to? So who are the audience that I'm going to actually go and sell this to? And then, how do I attract them, and what are the benefits of using my products and services, right? So it started off that way, and then it was like, hey, I'm making this product, so let's go and sell this whoever wants to buy, right? So it was like a one size fits all. Let's take this product, sell it to everybody, convey our message, so it started off with really, like mass communication, right? So you look at all the media, mass media type of thing, right? So advertise in newspapers. In fact, just to give you a little bit of backstory, the company I'm working for is Ansira. We are actually 100-year-old company. It started in 1919. Primarily, when the company was started, it was all about, the advertisements were placed in the newspapers, and then the company was trying to go and say, hey, this ad is actually placed in the newspaper, and it's complying with all the standards, right? So it started off that way, right? So making sure that when they say an ad is placed in the newspaper. And then later on, they improvised on that and said, hey, I'm going to go to the competition and say, if an automotive company is placing an ad, I'm going to the competition and say, hey, your competition is actually placing this ad. What are you doing about it, right? So then it started improvising. It's mass communication, right? So it started with that, and then gradually, with all this technology, the advent of technology and innovation and thinking, drove to different levels of evolution within marketing, right? So, and then they started talking about, no, I don't think this one size really fits all, right? So we need to figure out, what is really applicable to specific set of audience in the market, right? So then they were like, okay, let's just try to understand, what this product is and who is the suitable audience and targeted audience segment, that type of thing, right? So then it started with database marketing. So let's collect all this, information about people who are interested in my product, or then people who called, people who went to the store and bought some things. So then it started with collecting all that data, and then people started doing like slicing and dicing the data. Okay, now let's look at who are all the people who came in the last 1 week to see my product or services, right? So offering that were interested. And then you started getting the targeted segments. Now you say, hey, now I'm going to do more targeted communication to them, which is suitable for them, so we can convert those people. So then that thing got into really like personalization concept in marketing, right? So now where we are today, I mean, just to make the long story short here, from mass communication to the communication of one, right? So a segment of one. So every individual has to be communicated to exactly the needs of what they are looking for at the right timing, right? So for us to do that, marketing has come up with there's innovation of technology. There's so many different pieces of technology that will support today to do that, right? So that's what everyone is trying to do, right? So the utopia of today's marketing is really you know technology and understanding customers to the micro segments, we call them, to the level of interest that they have at the specific time, and then I should target them to convert it, right? So if you look at a TikTok ad today, TikTok will show a particular product, or a a dress or whatever it is, in that short video. But at the same time, there is a phone icon, so there's a call-in number, and then there is a email icon, so you can immediately, hey, I like this dress, so you can immediately call and place an order for that, right? So that's how it has become so personalized to the core, right? So that's the trend we are seeing is, it's just technology is just proliferating and supporting varieties of thinking in terms of personalizing to the core.
Great. So, one thing that's always intrigued me, Sukumar, is how come somebody from technology, somebody like you,
Yeah.
how did you walk into the world of marketing? Because that's a very rare movement, right? So, therefore, how did you get into the world of marketing?
It's interesting, Swami. So it's I'm in the marketing industry, but supporting all this technology components. So obviously, knowing the domain is very, very critical. Um, I started off way back in 1990s, mid 90s, when I started the work. It was all in the supply chain side.
Okay.
So I was doing a lot of enterprise backend, forecasting, fulfillment, transportation, logistics, warehouse management systems, those types of things. So essentially, if you look at what it really does, is it helps in controlling the cost of an enterprise, right? So which is, if you look at from a business standpoint, so it is actually you know driving efficiencies and optimization to your bottom line, right? And then, I spent about a decade working in supply chain technologies across various industries. And then I had an opportunity to look at, hey, marketing. So now marketing technology. So the individual that I was working with, he moved to marketing. He's like, hey, there is this new concept called database marketing, what I was referring to earlier, right? So bringing all data into one place, one database that can give you an opportunity to slice and dice that data. Hey, we have this new tool where we are doing this database marketing. Do you want to come and help us, kind of grow that, build partnerships with other companies and drive the growth? I'm like, perfect, right? Because, so far I've been looking at the bottom line of enterprises. Now I can start looking at the top line. So it was a great transition for me from an interest standpoint. And then, I made that switch to that area. And thankfully at that point, this was in early 2000, right? 2004, 2005. That's when this marketing technology as a field was really picking up, right? So once you started that database marketing, then there is like, oh, how can I build intelligence to this? How can I add statistics to that data, right? How can I build models? How can I build predictive models? Meaning, these are all the people that bought these products, and what are the chances that they would buy a similar product tomorrow, right? So if you want to do that prediction, then there is statistical modeling that was involved, and then those things were kind of getting very popular at that time. And then my background is in statistics, and I'd done my thesis in artificial intelligence, neural networks, and then I was naturally attracted to that area. So that's how I got into marketing technology. And then from that point on, it was just, sky is the limit. I think the number of products in MarTech is just growing, proliferating. If you see Scott Brinker's Chief MarTech thing, right? So every year he announces new, Lumascape, whatnot, that shows different marketing technologies. So what started off as 150 technologies at one point, and today it is 10,000 products, right? So it's, from that point on, it's every day is never a dull moment, right? So every day is challenging. Every day is like, you have an opportunity to learn new technology. You have an opportunity to work with customers who are facing different challenges in marketing, and that's what's keeping me going.
Brilliant. Uh, so you actually are working in a field where a lot of creativity is involved, and you have these traditional agencies still, doing the Super Bowl ads, right? So therefore, there's a
Yeah,
lot of hype around the Super Bowl ads, and at the other end, you have a agency like yours or a company like yours which is actually looking at technology, which is really on the the left brain side of the marketing business.
yeah,
How do you see the role of the marketing department, the CMO? How are they managing this wide set of skills that are required? Because suddenly you're talking creativity. At the other
yeah,
end, here you're automating, the brand communication using tech. So,
yeah.
do you see, companies' ability to, work together in an interconnected manner, or do you see still silos in the way clients really deliver the marketing today?
Yeah. No, so that's actually a fantastic question, Swami. So your question, applies or brings about certain things, how companies are working today, right? So it purely depends on what is that you're selling, right? So, if you're a B2C type of company, a retail company, then you're driving, your sales through high volume, right? So the number of products that are there's so many different products, and then you're driving the revenue through a high volume sale, right? So that requires completely different set of marketing. So then there is other set of, products that the company may be selling. It's luxury goods and, you know travel and services, and, hospitality industry, right? So insurance. So these types of companies require different types of marketing. So some in those cases are actually in B2C. Also in some cases you can actually do like directly a brand marketing. So knowing, you know what the brand stands for is another thing, and then knowing what you're selling in terms of products and services is another thing, right? So as a CMO, then what happens is, you need to figure out, what is that we are going to focus on, where are we in our life stage of the company, and then within that life stage, am I looking at, you know doing the building the brand equity in the marketplace, right? So knowing, in other words, am I going to be a household brand, or am I trying to sell more products and, you know that I have, products and services that I have, right? So that's where, the different tactics of your marketing comes in play. So when you're looking at more brand equity building, sometimes it's a combination, it's a hybrid, right? So you could be a retail, you're selling a tons of, lots and lots of SKUs, but at the same time you also want to build brand equity, right? So then you use this what is called as a media mix modeling, right? So how much money I should spend in a Super Bowl ad on a TV commercial, right? So it's 30 seconds is like insane amount there. And then how much money should I spend on digital marketing, right? And then how much money should I spend on this all this social media stuff? So where are my customers? So for you to understand that, brand equity requires more of, mass marketing. So that's where you need to go and look at, you know, the Super Bowl ads, buying media at a large level, World Cup soccer, so on and so forth, right? So, look at Infosys, for example, and there, you see them all the time in Wimbledon. You see them potentially in World Cup soccer and all of that. So it's a brand building, it's a brand equity building kind of thing. It's not like, nobody's going to go and say, oh, I saw an ad on Wimbledon, and now I'm going to go find out and what services they offer, and I'm going to outsource my digital marketing to Infosys. Nobody is thinking like that. They're like, oh, Infosys is a great company, and so they learn, they get to know what that is, and then it can drive further connection. So building brand equity is one thing. So from that standpoint, I think CMOs have to understand that what is that, how much money I'm going to build, or put in different channels, right? So in marketing, what we call that as a media mix modeling. So you need to take the total budget and you need to look at how much money is going for brand building, how much money is going for actual product and services sales, right? So and then you figure out where your customers are, and then where you potentially see the best return on advertising spend, right? So they call ROAS. So that's where you put your money there, right? So that's how I think CMOs are looking at how to how to spend money on what different channels depending on the ROI that's achieved in each one of these channels. So that makes it even more challenging for CMOs because they have to know now, not just the MarTech component of it, like marketing different pieces of marketing technology, but they also have to know, advertising technology, right? So ad tech, right? So now you look at not just the mass piece on the TV and um, TV and other commercials, OTT, and so on and so forth. But now they also have to look at different digital media, right? So out of home billboards or on your different channels, web channels, so those types of things. So the ad tech piece also comes into picture. So at least for CMOs, being aware of those types of things is very, very important. But nobody expects that CMOs to be technologists, right? So that's where this new emerging role of chief marketing technologist is becoming quite popular these days, because that's CMT, chief marketing technologies, report into a CMO, because they are the ones driving the technological component, and CMOs are driving the strategic components of marketing, right? So that's how
Okay.
things are shaping today, and more progressive companies that have a larger spend on marketing, they are looking at it that way.
So how is the handshake between a chief marketing technologist and a CMO? So how does it work? Because you obviously work in one of the most advanced markets in the world, right?
Yeah,
So therefore, it's extremely mature market. Ad tech is at a very, very different level of maturity. You've got martech at a different level of maturity. You've got digital marketing at a different level of maturity. You've got mass media at a different level of maturity.
yeah.
So how do these different specializations, how do they handshake, and how does it work today? So can you give me an example of how this is being done today, and what are the best practices that one needs to look at if you need to bring all of them together?
Yeah. So interesting. So I'm trying to think what's the best story to tell you. So let's look at a company that is in a restaurant space, right? So that's in the QSR space, right?
Yeah.
So basically, they are selling breakfast, lunch, and dinner, sort of like a fast food chain, right? So then, we call that also, fast food is like a McDonald's and those types of things, but this is more like a little bit in between, like a casual dining, right? So let's
Yeah.
say it's something like that. and then you are the CMO of that company, and then you're trying to figure out, how do I, your main job is to kind of increase the frequency of visits of your customers, right? So if somebody comes for breakfast, how can I make sure that they keep coming for breakfast more times in a week, right? So if they come for once or twice in a week, now I want to figure out, can I make them come 5 times a week? Can I make them come for breakfast, but also for maybe lunch, maybe dinner, right? So how do I do that? So the biggest challenge for them is to increase the number of visits of those customers. That's number one. And number two is to increase the ticket size. So whenever they come in, instead of just buying a sandwich and a drink, can I make them buy one more item, right? So that the ticket price is more, right? So if you look at this, right, so this is the strategy that a CMO may come up with, because they are tasked with, hey, you need to increase the sales, per store sales, by X percentage, right? So that's the goal that CMOs are actually given, and then they come up with this, hey, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually, you can't just randomly say something, otherwise you can't measure, right? So they will say, I'm going to increase the frequency of my existing customers, right? So let's say I have my existing every customer that's visited uh, my restaurant in a specific location, I've got 10,000 customers. Now I want to increase 10,000 customers, they visited 5,000 times. Now I want to increase that 5,000 by say 10%, right? So 5,500 times. So now that's the goal for CMO. So they go to the chief marketing technologist and say, hey, now we need to figure out, what is the, how can we do that? How can I increase that these 5,000 people coming, you know, 5,000 visits to 5,500 visits. So then, they talk to the technologist. Well, in that case, then we need to give them an offer. So maybe we should do an email marketing for them, right? So do we have all the email addresses of all these, 10,000 customers that has come to us? So if the answer is no, these are customers, we don't have any information about them. We don't have their email address, we don't have their phone number, but I have only 30% of those customers with those types of phone numbers, right? So then there is a data strategy where they will try to collect, as customers are coming in, how do we entice them to sign up for, say, a loyalty program, right? So they will have a loyalty program. Hey, we entice them to sign up here, I'm going to give you 10%. So I start collecting what we call as PII, personally identifiable, information of those customers. So that way I know more, right? So I know that information for more number of customers in my set. So now if I have that information, then I can start engaging with them. Hey, maybe I should just send them an email offer. But you cannot send an email offer randomly, right? You need to send it at the right time. So let's say at 11:30 they're working, they're browsing, and then they get an email saying, hey, come for lunch, you have 25% discount, right? So then that will entice them. Hey, I'm going to go pick up my lunch because it's right next door or whatnot, right? So it's that timing, the strategy of customer engagement is a huge thing. So that's where chief martech role comes in, and they say, hey, we need to do this execution of this email channel. So we need to have personalized, do we have an ability to time sending the email to the right individual, right, depending on the location, right? So they look at different components that goes behind the scenes, even just as simple as delivering an email offer at the right time, depending on the right individual, where your restaurant location is, right? So that takes a lot of different pieces behind the scenes. So I need to know, the customer information, email address. I need to know the restaurant location, and sometimes you may know, where these customers are coming from, the physical address, because they would have ordered some delivery or whatnot. So that, and then depending on the location, the nearby the restaurant. So you're going to give them an offer to that restaurant. You're not just giving an offer to just random anything, right? So that's how you're going to personalize a lot of those things. So the handshake is, a goal is given to the CMO. CMO has to achieve that goal, and they work with chief martech officers within the companies, and then they will try to put all that pieces together and execute it, right? So this once you have that foundation, the CMT, Chief Marketing Technologist, is continuously looking at different pieces of technology. Is this good? What else is out there, and how can we improvise this thing, right? So they're always looking at uh, innovating the pieces of technology. Prior to that CMT role, Swami, it was IT, right? So the CMO would go to IT and say, hey, I need to send these offers. So how can we do this? They're like, okay, we'll do this. And then, but when they go to IT and they're not dedicated to marketing, they're dedicated for the enterprise as a whole, right? So they're doing multiple other things. They're managing ERPs, they're managing data, finance, sales, operations, so on and so forth. So then, who gets priority depends on what's on fire on that particular day, right? So that's why, with the marketing technology role within the CMO's organization really helps running these things very, very quickly, because they're constantly experimenting. Hey, tomorrow, what happens if we send this different offer, or we send an offer with something else? Then you can try, you can experiment, you can get the results right there, and you can analyze the results and say if it worked, if it didn't work. So if it worked, let's continue to do it. If it didn't work, let's stop this, right? So let's not throw money on the same on things that didn't work before, right? That kind of thing.
Great. So, where does ad tech fit in this? Because you got martech, and
Yeah.
then suddenly the CMO has now got ad tech, right? So, therefore, where does the CMO, the chief marketing technologist, the probably a chief digital officer, how do they kind of work together on this? And have you been in such situations where all these three things have to come together, because you have probably SEM happening, you've got SEO happening, you've got coupons being done, there is e-commerce that is being done.
Yeah.
So many different channels are there. So how do you bring them together, and what skill sets are required to actually orchestrate this?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? So a lot of times companies get a little confused, or they because they have a role, a specific role, they will push that particular role to execute certain functions, which is probably may or may not be their skill set, right? So you look at chief digital officer. So chief digital officer, in my opinion, is more, a higher level role across the enterprise. It's, they are looking at not just marketing as one function, but they are looking at multiple other functions. How do I digitize? How do I, um, you know, drive this different processes efficiently within an enterprise? So they have a much larger remit, right? So the chief
Absolutely, I
digital
totally
officer.
agree with you. Totally agree with you. Yeah,
And then, chief marketing technologist is purely focused on marketing technology, right? So they know, chiefmartech.com, if you go there, all the products that are there, that's where, your martech, your ad tech, your content management systems, your experience platform, personalization platforms, website building, um, email, campaign management systems, cross-channel platforms, all of these things are the things that they are focused on, right? And then including ad tech, right? So ad tech is now, DMPs and DSPs of the world, right? So where, you're basically buying media and different channels um, to execute campaigns, right? So, if the example I gave earlier, I need to send customers an offer so that they come to the restaurant to redeem that offer, right? So I can send them an email. So there are multiple ways of sending that offer. I can send them an email, or I can target them on the website, um, you know, where they are, right? So for doing that, if you want to look at that channel, then you got to get through the ad tech component of it. So I want to target them on Facebook. I want to target them on social media. I want to target them on the website. Then you need an ad tech component. So then the MarTech component is more around, I know I know this individuals. So the simplest way for me to differentiate those two is if you know the individual, their PII information, I know how to contact them either via email or phone or physical address, then it goes to a martech component. If I don't know them, it's mostly anonymous, and then I'm dealing with this whole cookie world, right? So then it goes into an ad tech component of it, right? Sometimes you know the individuals, but you want to specifically target them on those channels, so you can still do that. And all the social media, Facebook and others, they allow you to upload an existing customer data, and they will target them specifically with an ad. So that's how ad tech and martech comes into play. That CMT role is more focused around those types of things. So then, so depending on what the chief digital officer's remit is, and then, within their realm of, marketing may be one function, but they may completely, um, give the responsibility to the chief marketing technologist to run it. So that's why the CMT role is not there in every organization. So depending on, how much importance they give for martech, right? So that's where they hire that. So sometimes the companies are saying no, the chief digital officer will cover this part of it, so we don't need a CMT for this, right? So it just purely depends on the organization, and then where how much focus that they want to give on the marketing side.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So does attribution become a problem because at one end you have the martech teams trying to push some campaigns, you got the ad tech teams trying to push some campaigns, and me as a consumer or a customer, I'm actually seeing it on the web. I'm seeing a mobile app, code jumping in. Suddenly,
Yeah.
I would have received an email. So, how do you really build attribution? And can you talk to me about attribution model, because you do a lot of such stuff, right? So, therefore, how do you really then reconcile the attribution given the fact there are so many such channels coming in?
Yeah. No, attribution is ever challenging problem for marketing. It's even till today. I mean, you cannot do 100% accurate attribution, in my opinion.
Okay.
And again, it depends on the campaign. So if I'm doing an email campaign, even majority of the time I can 100% attribute and say, hey, I sent an email campaign to send these customers back to my website, e-commerce website, and they redeem the offer, and then they converted, right? So then you know clearly that this offer drove this many conversions, right? But as you said, Swami, it's when the channels increase, right? So when you're doing a lot of ad tech component of it, right? So I'm targeting impressions. When you're doing with those types of things, then the information you get back is just at an aggregated level. So you get like hey, I served 1 million impressions on New York Times, right? But there were like 30% of clicks on those ads, and I don't know who actually clicked on it. So now you have to kind of look at, how do I attribute this, 30%, and how many people actually really converted? Are those people really the ones who actually saw the ad in New York Times?
Hmm.
We don't know, right? So, one of the things that we have done to address the challenge, again, it's not 100% accurate, but, well, one way to do that is, you do a digital campaign, you advertise it nationally. So we did it for a company. It's a gym club company, right? So they had varieties of uh, gym clubs in different places and different locations, but the company targeted a digital campaign nationally, right? And then they wanted to figure out how many of those people really joining the clubs at a specific location saw the ad and came,
Okay.
right? So it is very so what we did was, we looked at how many people, how many impressions were served nationally, how many people actually the clicks that we collected, and then we had the people who actually joined the club. So when people join the club, you have their information. You know who their last name, first name, their email address, phone number, physical address potentially, right? So now I have their information. Now
Correct.
what I can do is I can upload that information into an ad tech, things like live ramp, right? So when you upload it, and they will convert, the PII information, and then they will try to find those individuals' cookies that are there in the digital world, right?
Mm.
And
Mm.
then when you had served the ad before, and those ads were also, if they had clicked and they also had a cookie there. So now you do a cookie match and see if these two people, cookies really matched. And then you say, hey, maybe this is the person who actually saw the ad. Did they come really because they saw the ad and joined the club? No, we don't know. I mean, they would have seen the ad, but they still came. But you are just attributing because the cookies are matching. You're attributing that to, yeah, because they saw the ad. Maybe they, we can say that, yeah, they saw the ad, but they joined the joined the club. So that's the best approximation that you can make. That in terms of attribution, right? So there are tools today that are available. They call this, Adobe has one of the tools, Attribution IQ. So what it does is you can send data from different channels, and then it gives you an ability to model the data, right? So how do you want to attribute? You want to attribute for last touch. What was the last channel that they actually saw? And if it was an email channel, I mean, let's say you targeted somebody with digital campaigns on the media side, and then you also sent them an email, and then they saw the last thing that they saw was an email. Then you attribute everything to the email. Then nothing goes to the digital component of it, right? Or you can do a first touch attribution. You say everything goes to the impression that I've served for them, and nothing goes to the email part of it. And then there is all those things in between that you can do. Say, I give certain weightage to this, I give certain weightage to this, and then I, see what the attribution is, right? So there is all this different types of, tools that are available that gives you, 15 to 20 different types of statistical modeling that you can do for attribution.
Brilliant.
So
Brilliant.
these are all, various ways, but in my opinion, till date, it still remains a challenge for marketers to, determine the attribution accurately.
So therefore, coming to this most talked about topic, right?
Yeah,
You're moving to a cookieless world, and there's going to be a lot of first party data. So,
yeah,
how is this all going to work if it becomes a cookieless world? And I do have DMPs, and DMPs now will not have all these cookies, or for example, LiveRamp will have issues around cookies. So, how is it all moving, and what do you see as the path to a cookieless world, and therefore how will marketing change?
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of talk around that right now, right? So there's cookieless. People focusing on first party data is taking center stage, right? So that's where CDPs, the customer data platforms, are coming into limelight, right? So now everyone is offering a product and collecting customer data. They're calling themselves a CDP, right? So tag management companies used to collect tags on the website and information about visitors, and because I'm collecting customer data now, I'm a CDP, right? So there are, that's why the first party data is going to be very important. So people who are willingly coming to your website, people who are willingly giving the information about your website, right? So collect that information, and then maximize collection of that information as much as possible, right? And there are varieties of theories that is going on in the market right now that the traditional contextual marketing is going to become very come back to come back
So do
to
you believe so? That's the For me, that was the next question that I was moving to, which is you move back to the traditional
yeah.
marketing, but you go through the same buying system. So it's just because you're on my database doesn't mean that you're going to buy. Therefore, I saw this interesting quote from Brian Chesky saying that,
Yeah.
I'm going to reduce my spend on search and I'm going to put more money on education and I'm getting more results on it. So it's a fairly controversial statement. So do you see the old world marketing coming in with a lot of contextual stuff? Do you see that?
So that is one area. I think it's. I'm not saying that that is all. Everything is going to be contextual modeling, but contextual modeling will be a piece of how they are going to actually market. So depending on, again, what industry you're in. If you're in a publication industry, contextual marketing is very, very important. So if you're in a local region in Texas, and you're browsing New York Times, then they will contextually show you the content specific to your local region, right? So that kind of thing. So they clearly know that you're a subscriber from this region, and then I contextualize and personalize, localize those types of information for you. And then the other piece of contextual modeling is, you're doing research on the product. So you're looking at product information, product sheets, and so on and so forth. So then when you're there, then I'm going to target specifically, these are the, this is what you're looking for, this is what is important for what you're looking for, right? So based on the historical um, browsing behavior, then I will determine exactly this is what you're looking for. Some of this is based on purely the first party data, people coming in, um, and then you know giving their information, right? The other piece is also first party cookies, right? So now you go to the websites, and everywhere they'll say, oh, cookie consent, right? So you have to
Mm.
consent that your cookie is being collected, right? So DMPs may have some sort of DMPs will evolve, right? So in my opinion, what will happen is, when you say I'm consenting for the cookies, then you can also say that I'm collecting this cookies so that I can share with limited set of people, right? So then, when you share that cookie across, say, in retail, they always have this coalition, right? So when you have that type of coalition, then you can share those cookies, and then from one industry or one company to the other company website, when you go, then if they are actually using the same DMP, then you have an opportunity to kind of you know cross target them on different websites. What they are doing today, you can continue to do it tomorrow as well, but there are with some limitations, right? So number one is, you have to accept the cookies that can be shared with others. And number two is, there should be a coalition between different companies. Number three is, that same DMP that is collecting the cookies is being used by other companies too, right? So with all of these things, those become the selling factors for DMPs and DSPs to go and, hey, look, I've got, I'm a part of this coalition. So when you sign me up, then you'll be able to cross target your customers across multiple areas. So that's
Okay.
how I personally think. Maybe that's another way that you can alternatively solve this, the
Okay.
cookieless kind of problem. I mean, it's not really cookieless. You still are going to have cookies, but it's consent-based usage on those cookies, right? Contextual marketing will become, a part of that. And then CDPs are going to take limelight. CDPs will be the technology that will be actually enabling you to collect all that information. And then
So,
there is this whole notion of zero party data also, where um, zero party data is where, customers are giving the information voluntarily, right? So, like when you go to the website, so you see a little quiz. Hey, are you interested in this item? Uh, Say if it's a vitamin website, and you're like, oh, do you want vitamins for this? Do you want vitamin D? Do you want vitamin B? So based on the questions that you answer, then we collect all that information, and then we personalize specific product and communication to you, right? So that zero party data is also going to become extremely critical in this cookieless world.
Contraminds is a podcast dedicated to decoding people, minds, strategy, and culture. We interview and learn from high performers so that you can apply these lessons on your journey to becoming the knowledge worker athlete you were meant to be. The Contraminds podcast is available on all leading podcast players, and if you are interested in revisiting past episodes or taking a look at our show notes from this episode, please visit us at www.contraminds.com/blog. And now, back to the show.
So you are somebody, Sukumar, who actually have done a lot of digital transformation, right? And I'm pretty much interested in, there's a lot of discussions around, industry like auto and, retail and things like that. But I saw a very interesting, vertical that you seem to have worked on, which is manufacturing and digital transformation, right? And how is the whole world of digital transformation, if you really want to get it right, okay, what would you recommend as best practices looking at digital transformation? How do you really build this within the organization, and uh, how do you ensure that the bottlenecks or the collaboration, how does it happen? So what would you think you have seen work very well, and can you talk to me about it?
Yeah, it's there are a lot of pieces to that, Swami. So when you talk about digital transformation, there is everyone talks about the term. You know, they use fairly loosely for hey, I'm implementing a new software tool. So then we say the company is going through a huge digital transformation, right? Company is implementing a procurement tool, and then oh, they're going through a whole digital transformation. Maybe not, right? So it's not just I'm implementing a new tool and that's digital transformation, but it's more around enabling the process. So you need to basically look at it as an enterprise. What are some of the critical processes that will drive an enterprise behavior? Now these days customer centricity is so um, ingrained in every company. So they look at customer as in the center, and they build the processes around the customer, right? So for example, who am I selling this product to, right? So I need to understand the customer. So I need to know exactly what they are looking for. Is my products and services support them, right? So then you have your marketing organization that is built around that. Now you say, okay, now this customer, I'm selling this product. So if there is a problem with the product, who are they going to actually call? So now I have a customer support center. So that's customer support they call. It's built around that, right? So it's at the center is customer, and then on top, around all of that is your processes. So now if you look at, do I have the processes to support it, right? Previously, companies could be, they start, um, here's the product, so I want to go sell, and everyone starts like, think, build, ship, and then modify, right? So that's the process. Historically it's like, I thought about it, I built something, I shipped it, so let's go fix it now based on what are the issues that I'm facing. So that is one way of looking at it, right? So but now you look at transformation. Digital transformation is now, no, I want to change this into a customer centric way of doing it. Now that becomes a complete transformation process, right? So now you are changing your mindset from product centric to say customer centric. Now you need to completely go through a transformative processes. And do I have the process defined? Do I have the tools and technologies to support that process? That's what is, in my opinion, that's what is truly a digital transformation. So what happens is, in a way, let's say customer is in the center. Now I want to build a marketing organization around that. Then do I have tools and technologies to do it, to understand the customer? Okay, now I have a website, customer comes to the website. Do I have tools to understand who these customers are? Am I able to collect the information on the website and every single visitor that is coming, right? How much do I know if they don't declare themselves, and how much do I know once they declare themselves on the website? Now there is different, they go through marketing organization will go through, oh, I need a tool that can collect a web analytics tool that can collect all this information, right? So now they come to a software vendor who drives this web analytics tool, and then they're talking to them and say, I'm going through a big digital transformation process in my company. As a part of this, I'm doing web analytics. So now the vendor will say, oh, web analytics is a digital transformation tool. Yeah, it is one of the pieces of the digital transformation tool. So that's how, things come into play. So for us as a services, marketing technology services company, so customers are always coming with different things that they are modifying within their processes, right? So, sometimes it's an end-to-end transformation, sometimes it's some pieces that are missing, and sometimes there are those pieces that they're migrating from older technology to newer technology, modernizing the technology so that they can be future-proof for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. Then we help them figure out, what those gaps are and what technology really fits in that gap, right? So, when I worked in supply chain, the manufacturing, warehouse and, automotive parts and stuff like that. So part distribution was very critical. So, you need to figure out, how much parts, different automotive parts should be stored at different places, right? So I also worked for, it's an interesting one. I worked for Boeing. We were helping their C-17 aircrafts. For C-17 aircrafts, where they have varieties of parts, how much of different parts should be stored at different, Air Force bases, right? So then, you go through a complete, you know, process of forecasting and identifying reliability. Reliability engineering becomes very important. So, what are the chances that this part will fail? And what are the chances that I need to have that part available in that location, right? So bringing that reliability and forecasting together was a transformative exercise for them. This was back in 1998, 99 timeframe. So I mean, if you fast forward today, everything is digitized, right? So organizations are looking at, in my opinion, the next level of transformation is, you know, think of Google as simple as that, right? So Google, you can just go to Google. It's back at the back end of Google is your entire internet, right? So why can't we do the same thing at an enterprise level, right? So you go to an enterprise, um, you know, you are, let's say, a Procter and Gamble, right? So if I am the C-suite in Procter and Gamble sitting there, I should be able to search with a small Google search type of thing and say, what is my marketing spend today? Where are the challenges in the world within Procter and Gamble facilities? Where are the rejects happening on the parts that I'm shipping to, on the products that I'm shipping to different locations? So I should be able to just do that search and then figure out or get all the answers, right? So it should be that simple. I think that's where the next level of digital transformation is going to take place.
Brilliant example. I think it's a beautiful way of saying that, how the Google example and the analogy to a company is a brilliant way of looking at it. And then you have, I would call it slices of stacks sitting underneath it to solve the search that you are having in as for
Yeah.
the organization. That's
No,
really
one thing I want to add there, Swami, is it's it looks big, right? So that's where we need to think big that way. That's the end state that I want to achieve. But you can start small with I'll do a Google search to just figure out a factory issues, right? And if it is a factory situation, I want to figure out are all the products are shipped on time, right? So now, if somebody wants to do that, right, this is what I call democratizing the data across everyone in the organization, right? So if you want to know that information, what do you do today? So you go to that factory, you call that divisional manager. Divisional manager will say, I don't know. Let me call the factory manager. So the factory manager will say, oh, I don't know. I need to call the foreman of that the quality department, and then they will go log into a system and they will bring a report. Or they may have much more advanced organizations will have a reporting a BI type of reporting. Somebody can log into that BI and you can look at it. So essentially now that is in one set of tools. Now, if you want to figure out, how did my campaigns perform last week? Now you got to get into a different set of marketing technology tool to figure out that thing. But instead, if you had a Google search, which can give you, how is my marketing campaign? So you're doing the search in only one place, and it just gives you at the back end. It's connected, right? So start with one thing. Start with maybe just the factory quality problems, or start with marketing campaign problems. Connect that to your front end, and then you start connecting other tools to the front end, and then create that nice interface where you can ask the question, you get the answers back. And that's where this is exactly the things where Web3 technologies are coming in, right? So Web3 is not just blockchain. Web3 is not just decentralized ledger, but it's more edge computing. It's more AI ML. It's cloud computing. It's all of this collective terms is what I call as Web3. It's read, write, interact on the web. That piece of technology is where you're going to get, you can achieve these types of things there.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So you do integrated loyalty in Ansira.
Yeah.
So how do you define integrated loyalty? Because I found that to be a very interesting term. And why did you call it integrated loyalty? And what's the value proposition?
No, it's a great question. I mean, I've seen like varieties of questions on this topic. Some people say integrated loyalty is a loyalty program, right? So like how we see in different cases. Some people think integrated loyalty is a software application, but it's actually none of those two things. So integrated loyalty, what we call, is much more than loyalty, right? Much more than loyalty program. Sorry, I would say. Um, so, if you look at just loyalty as a whole, right? So, loyalty means what, right? So, loyalty means I like a particular company, a particular product that belongs to a particular company. And every time I think about that, I think about that product, I think about that company. Apple is a great example, right? You may or may not have Apple, but there are a lot of people, they know the company, and then the next set of things, customers are, very loyal. So whatever you're thinking, it's driving their affinity to that brand, right? So that's what we call loyalty. How can we drive customers' affinity to the brand, right? Even if they are not thinking about the product, right? So normally when customers are thinking about the product, when they are in a buying cycle, you want to buy something, then you're doing a research, and then, hey, join this loyalty program and you will get this benefits, right? So people will join the program. So, but what happened there? It's they are in the buying cycle. But what we say is, even if they're not in the buying cycle, how can they be thinking about you all the time? So we go beyond loyalty programs. So what it means is, it means knowing the customer well. So meaning, we do a lot of data, CDP, data consolidation, knowing your customers, all the things that we talked about earlier. Knowing that's creating that foundation of knowing the customer is consolidation of data, building CDP platforms, driving that first party intent, knowledge, and all of that. And then the second piece is, now how do I drive analytics and how do I drive insights from that data, right? So now that I have all of this data, then I need to know, what are the insights I can derive from that. So then we can say, hey, 30% of this customers that I've collected are interested in this, or they are willing to take this kind of action. Now, the third thing is, continuously engaging with them with some content, whether you're delivering email, whether you're meeting them at the right time on social media or SMS or push on the mobile side. You're communicating with them, and you're communicating with compelling content, right? So there is that creative and copywriting and engaging them with the right content, right? So now when you do all of this, they're always the brand is always on the top of customers' mind, whether they are in buying cycle or not, right? So they're always, oh, they sent me an interesting information about this product, so I know about this company all the time, right? So that's how we look at integrated loyalty. So it's a suite or slate of services that we offer as a part of this integrated loyalty that includes data services, that include MarTech services, that include creative services, print, strategy. So all of this analytics, reporting, data science, those types of things, all of this comprehensively we offer that. And then of course we also do specifically loyalty program as well, right? So identifying what's the right loyalty program for the right business. Different businesses have different types of programs. We design that program, we help them select the right technology, and we implement that program.
Brilliant, brilliant. And so, therefore, if you look at Ansira as a company,
Yeah.
so would you compete with an Ogilvy? Would you compete with a Wunderman Thompson? Would you compete with an Omnicom? So, where do you see your niche, and where do you see your? So, do you coexist with other agencies? Because they also seem to be buying similar companies, right? So, you had Axiom being bought by IPG, right? So,
Yeah.
therefore, so do you coexist, and therefore, what's your value proposition, and therefore what's your calling card that makes a big difference vis-a-vis these giants?
Yeah. So, we have this, like I said, we have slate of services. Integrated loyalty is one part of it. But overall, we basically we empower companies across, retail, automotive, tech, other things. And then we also have a suite of products that we support, the ecosystems, right? So for example, uh, companies that sell through agents and dealers and retailers. It could be in the retail, it could be manufacturing, distribution, it could be automotive, right? So automotive, you have tier one, tier two, tier three, right? So we have a set of services that support these things, and then we have a set of services where specifically targeted to automotive, what we call as um, in market activation. So you look at auto dealers, we run the website digital marketing for individual dealers. We run their websites, we run their digital marketing program, whether it's email or media, those types of things. And then we do that at scale. We do that, we've got our own DSP. And then we also have integrated loyalty, right? So these are the different slate of services. So when you look at it, a different services piece, who are we targeting, which customers are we targeting, what we are offering. We compete with different set of competitors in the market. So Wunderman Thompson or Epsilon or Merkle, so we compete with them when it comes to the integrated loyalty services. Integrated loyalty, if I'm doing a uh, data management services, right? So I'm definitely competing with Axioms and Merkles. So if I'm doing a loyalty program, and these companies outsource the loyalty program to us to create, design, and manage the program, then definitely I'm competing with Merkle, right? So because they also have a product, they also have a loyalty services, and so on. And then there are all these emerging players who are up and comers that we always compete. Sometimes this company we've not heard of, and they are competing with us. And sometimes in a large retainer based companies are outsourcing for thinking of outsourcing for larger than 12 months, 12, 24, 36 months. Then we are competing with traditional BPOs, like Cognizants of the world, Wipros of the world, right? So those types of things, because they are building services, skill sets in Martech and all of that. So we compete with them. So our niche is really, we provide end-to-end services. Companies want turnkey, so we are a very, very good competitive alternative for them. And then we also do very specific, as I said, in integrated loyalty, if somebody wants just analytic services, we just do analytics. We go and do reporting. Somebody wants just data consolidation, we do that. So they don't have to sign us up for end-to-end turnkey type of thing. So we go and do pointed solutions as well. And we do that, in full service, self-service, or hybrid in any kind of mode. And so being really flexible, I think, we are marketing technology and services company that is flexible and nimble. That's how we compete. And people like that. And when they see, when they're evaluating a list of competition, they look at us as much more nimble, agile, flexible. We can mobilize a team very, very quickly.
Okay, so you do have a creative team, and
Yes.
they do the content and things like that. So the technologists sit, the analytics guys sit with their creative guys. The creative guys work with technology teams, and that's the way it works, is it? That's the way it
Correct.
happens.
Yeah. That's why, what we did was, data, creative, technology, marketing, technology services, and then analytics services, it's all under one roof. So, if we are offering, different pieces of services, then, it's not in silos. So we collaborate, and, there is always, um, a collective solution that is put in front of the customer.
So
That is what.
do you believe that's the way the future of marketing is going to be? Because I certainly believe the current agency, group models or the communication group, while they may have silos, they may not necessarily give you the collective solutions that you are offering. So is that the way the future of marketing is going to be?
Yeah, I mean, that's how, at least, I'm differentiating, what we do, and then I think that's where industry is also heading, because, whether you're doing a collective set of services or not, right? Even if it is just a point solution, but you are thinking about it holistically, right? So if we are an organization that are good in doing, end to end thing, right? So although I'm contracted to do only a specific piece of services, but I bring in the best practice. Hey, if you do this, watch out for upstream problems, watch out for downstream problems here, right? So giving that information is so helpful for the clients, versus, if you're a technology company, they hire you to, let's say, implement, an email product, right? ESP. And then you come in, you install, you go. And then, all the other things, that data that is feeding into ESP, and the data that is getting extracted from ESP, how are you reporting it, and what kind of information is collected, all of that is never thought about, right? So because this SI's job is to just come in, implement technology, do some UAT testing, sign off, and go, right? So what we say is, although we may just do exactly the same thing, but we will think about all the things that is required for upstream data and also for downstream processes.
So what do you think is the future of Meta? And is metaverse going to be very, very important for marketing? And do
Yeah.
you guys have a specific set of strategy to integrate it in your integrated loyalty services?
See, Meta, um, it's an emerging channel, in my opinion, right? So Metaverse is an emerging marketing channel, right? Uh, there are a lot of channels that came before, right? So things like, you know, IBM started this thing, like, what did they call? I think they call Second World or
Yeah,
something like
correct.
that. So they had something like that, but that never took off. And
Second,
again,
it was
technology,
called Second Life, I think.
Second Life, yeah, yeah, Second Life, exactly right. Yeah, sorry, I couldn't quite recollect the term. That didn't take off that much, right? So, but now I think the technology is really advanced, right? So in terms of, Web3 and so on and so forth, right? Uh, Clubhouse was one thing. I don't know if you knew, the
Yeah,
social
correct.
audio thing, that started. I don't think it really took off that much. Everyone was just by invite only. But in my opinion, Meta is, yet another marketing channel. Not for all businesses, only for certain businesses. And Meta, the way I would split that is, there are three components of Meta. One is, the entertainment component, which is basically, the gaming piece and communities and, collaboration, that kind of thing. So you could have a metaverse where you can go and join, just do gaming, done, right? The second component is social component within Meta. So where you can create avatars, right? So you can have, like, a Swami avatar and my avatar, both of us log in, and then your avatars are there, and then you can get into a chat box and you know talk to each other, kind of thing, right? The third piece is on the business side, so which is basically, you know you log in, you get into the Meta, you do the meetings, you take the 3D tour, right? So AR VR is actually a subset of Meta, so which is required to do those types of three-dimensional, you know
Yeah.
touring, holoportation, those types of things are done through that, conducting business and meetings and so on and so forth. It's going to take off in certain areas, like one of the clients that we're working with, they're experimenting on that, and it's in the entertainment side. How many times you and I will sit down and say, I want to go to this resort, right? But if only I knew how it looks inside, what's what are the different things that are there, what are the services that are there. Sometimes you're like, I want to go to this place, but I want to go inside, I want to turn right and see where it is. Or you're going for, completely, you're traveling to a different place, you're visiting your client, you want to understand they are in downtown, where is the parking, right? So then if you have a Meta, have a 3D, you can go in there and you can take a tour of all of that. Oh, parking is here, oh, this thing is there. You can see those types of things. I'm just using that as a my
No,
own
it's a
layman
brilliant, it's a
example.
brilliant example. So what you're really saying is, imagine I was a travel aggregator. I can
Exactly.
actually think metaverse is my next level of just photographs being around. Metaverse could be the next level of interaction as far as my customers are concerned, because I'm able to see the resort, I'm able to see the services, and therefore it's just not photographs as you see it today, but it's real life experience where AI, AR, VR is all integrated into the experience, and then you go and book the resort. That's really where you see the metaverse, really getting some traction, and then adoption then will start to raise. That's
Correct.
really
Yeah.
what.
Yeah, I mean, that's where, that's one place where I see it's in the use case standpoint, right? So that's very, very quickly, people can understand and comprehend why it is useful. Because we all think about, I want to know what is there before I get there, right? Then when you get that real, virtual tour of that, then you're like, oh, I really like that. I want to go there, and so you sign up. And then the other things, that follows that is, you can take that to marketing, varieties of, martech kind of thing, right? So take, for example, loyalty. If customers are, you want to take them through an experience, here's the product that we are selling, and when you use this product, these are the benefits you can see. Then they can get like a virtual tour of that, and then if you take this tour, I'm going to add 1,000 loyalty points for you, right? So they're training, right? So in a B2B kind of training component, we do a lot of B2B loyalty also for, like, you know heating and air conditioning companies. They're, where you have technicians actually going and installing in the individual houses. Then they go through a metaverse and they, take the training, and then we give them loyalty points, right? So then clearly what is being done. So that kind of thing, and then add on top of that the blockchain component with NFTs and stuff like that, right? So I was talking about the entertainment piece, collaboration where two different people are coming, and then you can share, if you have an NFT, you have a digital art, you can share, hey, I got this art, you want to buy it, we want to exchange. So then you can swap. So it gives you the authenticity to what you're exchanging and what you're sharing and what you're selling, right? Versus if it is some sort of other currency, then you don't know, it's real, not real. I mean, first of all, you're an artificial world, and then you don't know what is real. So what you're doing with the blockchain is you're making the authenticity exchange real in a virtual world.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty much coming to the end of our conversation, and I want to focus on a couple of things, Sukumar.
Hmm.
If I were in the marketing department starting, or if I'm in my mid-career kind of a position, what are the skill sets that you believe are going to give me the competitive edge, and what should I be skilling myself with to be future proof, given such technological changes that are happening and how you are seeing marketing change from an advanced market like the US? What skill sets do you believe marketers across the globe need to have, and what do you think is completely non-negotiable?
Non-negotiable, right? So yeah. No, I think I always answer that question, much more philosophically versus, a technical skill set type of thing, right? So I'm not going to say, oh, you have to be a Salesforce certificate, you have to know metaverse, you have to know blockchain. Yeah, those are, technological components, but primarily what you should know is really, individuals with an extensive level of curiosity. Curiosity is what is important. I mean, curiosity, what I define by that is, if they hear something about metaverse, if they read, I mean, these days, youngsters, mid-career, uh, experienced people, alike, right, across the board, um, you know, you're seeing different things. You're seeing different, hey, metaverse is coming in this space. Then you can read that information, you can leave that alone, or you can dig deeper and get curious and how is this thing really going to work, right? What are the different things that are actually available, in order to make this work, right? So if you are a curiously minded individual, I mean, especially for people who are starting the career, this is what I tell my daughter: just don't worry about all the things that you're doing, just be curious and ask questions, try to dig deeper and learn more, right? Then as you start learning more, then you will be able to say, oh, I read something about metaverse here, oh, I read something about blockchain here, so I read something about here. Then you will have that mindset to connect the dots. When you have the mindset to connect the dots, that skill set, that strategic thinking skill set, is what helps you driving the organization forward. And then you have this next level of skills where you're saying, oh, I want to build this, blockchain enabled database. Then you go hire a set of blockchain related skill sets, right? So it's you can learn on, if you're curious enough, then you can be expert in creating, distributed ledger, and you can learn something, how to do metaverse on a Roblox platform, right? So that kind of thing, you can learn those types of things. And then comes the technical skill sets, and then you focus on exactly what you're interested in, what is in high demand, and then you learn that. But you should know fundamentally, these are all the different pieces of, domain knowledge is so important, right? So knowing marketing as a domain is extremely critical, and being very, very curious about, how different things work in that domain is important. And then the third thing is all your different components of technology skill sets. So, curiosity in my mind is completely non-negotiable. You have to be curious. Otherwise, you will not be able to. Curiosity and connecting the dots across different things, because every day you're hearing different things, and then innovation really happens from one industry, cross industries, right? So if you worked in automotive, how can I bring this into retail? If I worked in retail, how can I bring this into technology company? I think there was an example where Microsoft had hired this guy who came from a retail background, right? So what does that got to do with the software company? A lot of people ask that question. No, but he came from retail. He knew exactly how to distribute the products, and he helped actually Microsoft shrink wrap all their Office products and distribute and sell at individual retailers, right? So you think it's cross-industry innovation is also extremely important. So the more you work across different industries with that mindset, you'll be able to connect all the dots.
Brilliant. I think it was one of the best answers I've ever got on how one should be prepared for the marketing of tomorrow.
Yeah.
What are the books that you think have inspired you over years in technology, martech, marketing, which you believe can be good, anchors for people to learn things? While there is web, of course, but which kind of books have kind of given you a good, faster of the starting block kind of a thing?
Yeah. I mean, for me, really, as I gave you examples earlier, right? So, I mean, how I started my career in marketing. It started with the database marketing. So there is, I forgot, I still have that book here. It's it's fundam. It's actually this one here. Sorry, I'm strategic database marketing by Arthur Hughes, right? So this is an
Right.
old book. This is 2000. It's actually in 1995. It was originally 1995, and there's various reprints that are actually available. Um, that kind of started me with the whole Martech, right? So this gives you an excellent foundation for what this whole database marketing is about. And then there is this other one here, the Martech Handbook. So that gives you Martech Handbook by Daryl Alfonso. So it kind of gives you overall, if you want to know, what are different pieces of Martech, and you know, how do I know different things that's going on in Martech across technology, vendors, agencies, services. This is a good one. So, and then of course there is, like, depending on your interest level, there is various other books that are there every day. There's new
This is
books
lovely. This
released.
is really lovely. I think even these two are great examples, and I think great directions for people to, the audience, to really go buy it, read it, and absorb what is there.
Yeah.
Who's your hero in your own field, who you look up to and say, hey, I am actually inspired by this person, and can you talk about why that person inspired you, and therefore that's something that you believe uh, has been a key driver to whatever you are doing today with passion and purpose?
Um, I mean, I think it's you know, I mean, what I'm doing with passion and purpose. That's let me give you a couple of different things, right? So, when I first started my career here in the U.S., my first manager, he was extremely. I mean, he was fantastic. I mean, actually, even today, when I close my eyes and think about how different things. I mean, I was just starting to learn the ropes, and I didn't know how what are the different things out there and stuff like that. So, one thing he said is, the curiosity component. So you need to, you know, even if you don't know, always think everything logically, right? So always think logically, and when you apply logic, even if you don't know certain technicalities, so you'll be able to answer the question logically, um and drive that. So, and then he also advised me, always be curious, keep asking questions, try to learn more, right? So you're not asking question to be like, to demonstrate you're smart or anything. It's you're asking question just for your own learning. So he was a great mentor. I mean, I really, really liked it. I liked him. And then I followed a lot of things, just being curious and being logical. That's till date, I just do that. I mean, you know, you meet clients every single day, and then, you're running from meetings back to back. And, a lot of times you're not prepared. You just go into the meeting, and then they are asking you questions, right? So then, you don't have to have all the answers. All you have to have is a logical thinking. Why are they asking? What are they asking? Why? How should you respond? If you are a logical thinker, I think you can run any meeting for almost half a day, but after that you need preparation. But
Absolutely.
anyway, that's kind of helped. And then I also really liked Frank Slotman. So he's the Snowflake CEO right now. He wrote a book called Amp It Up recently. I enjoyed that book very much. I mean, I liked his thinking, and it's like no bullshit. Drive this thing, and I think there is opportunity to amp up everything that we are doing in the company in terms of skill sets, in terms of what we do, but we are not doing to the fullest at this point, right? So there is always a way that you can amp up, how much we do and how much we grow. So I really liked some of the concepts that he explained, and then I'm trying to use that, in a lot of the things that I do also as well.
Brilliant.
So these things, some things that come to mind, but again, I read a lot of different stuff, and I have tons of books here, and I buy $100 worth of book every month.
My God. Okay.
So
So what do you do when you don't work?
when I don't work, I mean, I number one is I enjoy reading, and so I spend some time reading and stuff like that, and then I do take long walks. I mean, I walk every day, 3.5 to 4 miles every single day.
Okay.
So I enjoy, and this is something that's important. When I walk, it's no headsets, no nothing, so just walk, right? So just enjoy the nature, just look around and see people, see the nature, see the birds, and that kind of thing, right? So that's helped me a lot.
Brilliant. So thanks, Sukumar. It was a lovely conversation. The perspectives that you shared on how marketing is getting transformed, some real life examples of how you have done it, your own examples of how you keep up with how you're keeping pace with the changes that's happening in marketing. It was a phenomenal discussion, and thanks a lot for your time and lovely talking to you. Thanks for listening to this episode. For selected links and detailed show notes, visit www.contraminds.com/blog. Follow ContraMinds on social media and let us know who you would like to see next on the podcast. If you're listening to ContraMinds on Apple Podcasts, do share your comments and give us a rating. We are keen to know what you're thinking. ContraMinds is also on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and stay up to date on all our releases. Thanks for listening and stay safe.